Here, I wanted to make a quick video, hopefully, as far as getting out of the tension, that inner tension dissociation, and make it more concise. Right now, if you see, like, when I'm going like this, that means that I'm doing a little bit of the inner tension, but that's okay because I know a little bit's no big deal. Anyway, so let's just start off being more concise. Okay, I want to get in my body, more of my body and the body control of it all, controlling my body. So I'm in my body, first person, in the present moment. So that type of concentration, even if I have other thoughts, my thoughts are going to that type of concentration, right? And then from there, now that we're in the body, then the conventional grounding in which, sensing your feet on the ground or sensing your hands touching something. I'm just over here because then it's in camera view. Sensing the feelings of it, and also, kind of driving with that sensations, maybe driving like the gut feeling into it. Kind of like how Tai Chi, you do a ball of light, manipulate the light. Okay, so I have a sensation, plus I'm thinking about what it feels like, right? I'm just the more you kind of really delve into that, then the more the transfer, because what it is I'm trying to transfer attention out of me. That's all. That is the goal, right? So, you're kind of even thinking about that goal a little bit, that I'm trying to get that transferred out of me, and it's transferred out of you by the replacement of, because the tension is kind of a doing thing. It's not so much of a thinking thing. In this type of sensing the exterior is more of a doing thing. Yes, you want to put thoughts into it too, but that's the next step. So that's step one, getting in your body. Step two, sensing the exterior. And then the next step is, so now everything that I can see, and I have this feeling in my body, and I'm sensing the exterior. Now everything that I'm seeing but not touching, I'm also getting that same sense. So I'm expanding the sensual, the sensations on everything else in the exterior. That's step three. Okay, so from there, you should actually, the tension pretty much should be maybe fully released, or almost very released, right? And then now you're thinking, okay, so like sometimes back in the day, I would do that kind of grounding. I would be like, oh, the tension, I got it released. And then you're like going like, but how do I now start thinking without, because I got so addicted, I did this thing where I did this tension projection into my thoughts, the biofeedback thing. I did it wrong. I wasn't supposed to do it that way, but I did. And that's what happened. That's what I'm trying to get rid of. So once that tension was released, I'm thinking, well, how do I start thinking now without doing tension into the thoughts? How do I start moving my body now without doing that inner clench tension into all of my body movements? See, that's what I got into. Well, then you're going to now, within those thoughts that you're going to be thinking, it is also going to be you. It's still in that first person and everything. All the thoughts, like the thoughts just ahead of your actions, as well as thoughts 10 minutes from now, thoughts a day from now, all of your thoughts, even the thought right in front of me, is all going to be of you. You're in that same feeling in which you are grounded and you have a sense of the exterior in your body in the first person. So all of your thoughts are also, the first person, don't worry about that so much. Just all of your thoughts are going to be of you, of they're going to be grounded too. The thought connection now, with all the thoughts in the sensational awareness, is also in your thoughts. So that's what allows you to start thinking without going into the thing that I addicted myself into by accident, where I'm doing tension into all the thoughts. This inner clenching. It's called isometric inner tension. And I did it so early on in the biofeedback world, where they put electrodes on your head and everything, and it's the therapy of getting your concentration more on, like the teacher talking, rather than me wanting to go play sports and everything. It's the ADHD method, in which you're supposed to be getting your concentration more centered on what people are saying and not distracted on things. But I did it in such a way, I did it wrong. Obviously, I didn't know it was possible to get stuck in an isometric inner tension. Okay, you can't flex your muscles, but if you do flex your muscles, the waves go up and down, but it will also beep as that's muscle flexation. So I tried to do a muscle flexation as hard as I could, and I tried to do it up in my head, like trying to squeeze my head, like just internally, and I'm focusing as hard as I can. So I took that focus, maybe it was like a thought experiment, but it was like the first kind of thought experiment I started trying to do. And that's like a thought experiment that went so badly wrong that it's like, oh, now I have no outlet for any other thought experiments. Not knowing that I could get stuck inside of a isometric inner tension that turns you into a zombie, because really, you do it so hard in a way that the thoughts go away. They go into, you do put a concentration of your thoughts, and that thought concentration went into doing this kind of tension physical focus. And you do it so much that what your gut feelings also transfer into that inner tension feeling. It feels like a ghost arm clenching in your head or your face, anywhere where you concentrate. Like a lot of times when I'm mostly not doing it that hard, I'm still in a position that keeps doing it because I'm in a position, I'm just trying to hold it like in the chin area of feeling this tension, because it can, there's levels of it. There's like just full on, just horribly painful, stuck in your own head thing, which is what really started to happen, because what happens is that you realize this is not working, and so because you're not able to concentrate on the teacher while physically trying to do this tensiony focusing, because your concentration is on the physically tensioning focusing thing. So then I'm like, wait a second, and I'm feeling this tension. How do I stop feeling the tension? How do I stop this tension and just going back to what it was before? And that's where it truly becomes a horrible issue, because you're not just fearing this tension thing or panicking about stopping it, but once you really try to stop it, it really intensifies and even gets worse. And then you're to the point where you're just trying to keep the tension from growing worse. And what that is doing is you're still paying a lot of attention to the tension, but you're trying to get it released within the tension itself. But all your brain is just saying is that is just seeing the tension. You're trying to stop it. You're doing it within the tension. That's not how you get out of it. So from there, you're stuck in that. The only way, and it's also just trying to like keep it from getting worse. So I'm still, it's making the tension hold even worse by me trying to manipulate it within that tension itself, and like fearing it and everything. So to the point then now, just the fear, because I know what it feels like and the pain of it. So just thinking about that, will cause me to, just thinking about what the feeling is, can cause me into like, oh no, and then you're like locked into it. It's called getting beta locked from EEG biofeedback. It's actually been done by multiple people, but I don't know who those multiple people are. I just know that it's known in the biofeedback community or whatever. But at the time when I did it, I don't think the doctor, I don't know if anybody had done it. I did that biofeedback stuff pretty early on in the beginnings of it, I suppose. And they probably hadn't known that you could actually do that, I guess. Because nobody, like if you were a doctor who invented it or something like that, you'd probably not think of that this could happen to people, because you probably wouldn't be thinking like that, what you would do it like that, because that wouldn't make any sense. Why would I be able to concentrate more on the teacher by physically doing attention up in my head? I did it to kind of cheat the system, kind of a thought experiment, that if I physically, like what I thought was focus, because all the doctor told me to do was just get the electrodes on. You see the brain waves, you want to make them go fast up. I know that if I flex my muscles, I can do I can do that, but you have to remain perfectly still. And anyways, I didn't know you could get locked into like, but I mean, now that there is this knowledge that this can really happen and just be the most torturous thing in the world if you get stuck in it and not knowing how to get out of it, become like a zombie that can't think, just feels tension, doesn't know how to stop it. Horrible thing. But not only now that they know this, I mean, because of me, maybe a few others, I don't know how many, I suppose the biofeedback clinicians would know that, okay, if you're going to do it to speed up your brainwaves, do not try to cheat the system by doing any by trying to do some kind of internal tension or physical hard focus. It's only just stay only with your thoughts, and then, because it's extremely dangerous if you did that. And so that will probably keep anybody, people from doing it, as long as they're instructed correctly. If they're not, it could happen again to other people. But in any case, this is all about getting out of that. But getting out of that is the same way in which you can also, the methods of this, it's the same way people can get out of, being stuck in a dissociation, but that was thought-driven, maybe thought-driven by fears in which they ruminate on and they clench up, even with just their body or whatever, and they don't know how to stop feeling tension, and their minds all get shallowed with the feeling, because their mind is just not thinking about, imaginative thoughts. Instead, it's thinking about the feeling of the tension, which actually was derived from a rumination of fearful thoughts. The same thing with depression. You get a rumination of, I don't even want to describe the thoughts, but those negative thoughts, of the past will create like a depression, and fearful thoughts of the future will create an anxiety. And then from there, you more so either get stuck in it because you just can't stop ruminating on the thoughts and don't know how to not think that, but it's also combined with your feeling the feeling of it at the same time, and you're concentrating on the feeling of it at the same time, that really can get you stuck in these sort of ways. So you can get stuck in that tension, anxiety, dissociation, and in very much as well as in depression, in that sort of way, the ruminations on thoughts that I don't even want to think of, because I've gotten that too. Because you gotta get your thinking corrected there. But also you also can't be so focused on the feeling that it's causing too, because just focusing on the feeling that it's causing kind of automatically keeps you in that thought rumination too. So it's kind of a combo factor. So that was the same thing with me, except I had it all directed in my head, and it started off as a more of a doing thing than it was a thought. Because why the hell would any freaking hard inner isometric tension happen in your head and face and stuff, unless you're doing it like the way that I did it, you know? So, like, it wouldn't be like thought driven, even though it kind of is. It's thought driven too, in that I'm fearing a tension up in my face, and it's like, why the fuck would you have tension up in your face? But yeah, so that would be. So I think those methods would also work too for any type of dissociation, in which, okay, first I ground myself. So you're taking your thoughts. That, like, all the thoughts went into the feeling of the tension and stuff and the controlling of it within. So whatever type of depression or anxiety you have too, all your thoughts are kind of in that feeling of it. Okay, so now still all your thoughts are just going to be in the feeling of getting more in the first person present. Because why present? In any of these other two, they're in the future of fears, or they're in the past of negative thoughts. Negative thoughts either way, whether it's of past or future. So then the present also works, just as getting out of this works. The present moment within my whole body, getting in the first person, because dissociation also is kind of like your third person-y. It's like you're not, when you envision yourself, it's like of a different, almost a different person. Like, anyways, like that's what I'm talking about. Like when I got stuck in that tension, also then my thoughts, which were very shallowed by it, but my extra thoughts outside of that is still like thoughts of me being stuck in facial tension, head tension, as I'm doing everything. So yes, in the present moment, I'm also in facial tension doing it, but then also the thoughts are of that person that's like a zombie, like can't barely think and full of tension as they're doing. So all the thoughts too. So that's what we need to change, right? We need to get the tension out of us, and then we have to have our thoughts changed to a person who is thinking and doing everything without any tension, so the present moment in your body, right? That's the opposite of thinking future past. The sensations of the exterior, what's that the opposite of? That is the opposite of focusing on the feeling that you're having. Okay? So what's the problem? Thinking past, future. Present, that's the opposite. That's what you want. Within your body, first person in the body. And that's step one. Step two, the opposite of focusing on the tension feeling, well, you're focusing on the senses. Okay? Now, your thoughts, okay, are on a person that is doing tension. Well, we're first of all expanding this sensation to a further out environment in which we can see. That's kind of adding thoughts to that feeling. So that is an addition to thoughts that should clear up the tension even more so, while also all staying in the present. Now we have one more thing. I'm stuck here. How do I transfer into where I don't start doing tension in my thoughts? Well, if you're ruminating on negative, well, right now you're in the present, so you're not doing that. What do? We get our thoughts imagining in, like, say, more of a positive direction. But in my particular case, I'm not really worried about whether it's negative or positive. I mean, my only negative is the doing of the tension itself. So I get myself focused as a person, and all my actions are also still that feeling, that sensing of the exterior. All my thoughts are now now I can start thinking, but all of those thoughts are still of a person sensing everything in the same sort of way in which I'm sensing everything. And then, so that's step 4, right? So, get inside of your body in the present moment, step 1. Step 2, getting a sense of what you're actually touching. That's the traditional grounding technique. The feeling of your feet on the ground, the feeling of what you're feeling in the right outside of you. You're still, even though you're grounding yourself in these sensations, your thoughts haven't been fixed yet. So third step, sensing the exterior more of not even what you're touching. That's like a combination of grounding in thoughts. Now we're taking our thoughts fully on everything just in front of you, all your thoughts, 10 minutes out, hour out, a day out. Now our thoughts are going to be of that person who is always just sensing everything that he's thinking about and stuff. Now from there, I said, now stop. Now believing that you're free, step 5, believing that you are totally free and you don't have to do anything else. Well, that really means, what the definition of that is actually that you are totally free of step 1, 2, and 3. And that you just maintain your thinking of yourself with the sensations on the exterior. Now, so that step 5 is really just maintaining step 4. Now, do I have to maintain that forever or what? Well, you definitely have to keep checking on making sure that it's staying in this way in all of your thoughts for a while. Eventually your brain should be like free, where I don't even have to check in on that. It's staying like that. But it also helps. Step 6 would be, the final step would be to get your thinking more just on the other people, what they feel, what they think, relating to all that, focusing on helping them. And then combined with that step 6 would be just keeping it positive thinking and stuff like that. So basically, thought control. Step 6 would be thought control, in other words, in which I'm watching myself from thinking fearful thoughts, being more logical about it. There is no fear about it. Keeping your thinking going. What's step 4? You're just keeping the thinking of that. All of your thoughts are just having sensations as well of everything in the first person, grounded. All your thoughts are grounded too, right? And also too, in the present moment. By present moment too, think about this. My thoughts are also in the present moment. That doesn't mean that, like, you could think of the present moment being right here, right now, right? But no, also in my future thoughts, the thought just ahead of me, just 10 minutes out, a year out, whatever. When I'm thinking of those things, I am in the present moment. So that also is included in staying in the present moment. You understand? So, like, all my thoughts are in the present moment, not just in the present moment. At first, you're going into the present moment, but now you're getting your thoughts also in the present moment that are the future thoughts of yourself. And of yourself is in first person in that, so then when I'm thinking, I'm not seeing myself. Maybe I'll see my hand, but that's what first person, is about. Not that you could think in the third person. That part's not so important, really, of like actually seeing yourself, but it doesn't work as well. But it's not anything to worry about. So that's not important, right? And so, okay, so the fifth step is just believing we're out of it. It's really just staying on step 4 for a while. But I mean, also I used to just say step 5 because I didn't really get the step 4 details so well that it's just like almost like, okay, I'm out of it enough in which I'm like just trying to, even transferring from 3 to 4, I had like a Tai Chi shake, where it's like I'm trying to just use all the steps all at once, which is true in that I am staying in my grounded self as I'm thinking of all the thoughts are also of I'm seeing it all in the well-grounded first-person self. So it's kind of like you're keeping intact of everything. That's why I'm thinking of all of it all at once as I'm getting my thinking into that state of mind too. So, it's kind of like that. But you don't really have to shake into it if you really kind of understand what the hell's going on here. But you can, because you are staying in that realm. So that's why, like, now that I'm thinking where all my thoughts are having a sensation, I'm also doing a little bit of a check back, making sure I'm also still grounded too, And so what else could be after that? I and I definitely just like how you can actually hold yourself out of it, right? Say like I'm relaxed, I'm holding my grounding, and then you like saying, okay, I'm holding I was trying to play pickleball and I was just kind of like, okay, I'm holding my Tai Chi out of it, and okay, I'm all good. Let me try to play, but I couldn't do it because I kept trying to hold my grounding out as I was trying to play, and so that doesn't work. At a certain point, I have to be able to just concentrate on what I'm doing without having to think about any type of steps of grounding and stuff. Otherwise, you have to be fully concentrated on what you're doing, right? But when all of your thoughts are also grounded too, and you're clear of that, then you can speed things up with speeding up your thoughts that are also all grounded, speeding them up in that state of mind. So yeah, and then so I got a gut feeling. So what else is there? You gotta keep controlling your thoughts. I mean, this is all about letting the reptilian take over its body. Reptilian brain. Your reptilian brain is the thing that does all this functioning, and your prefrontal cortex, conscious brain, is not supposed to get in the way of that. The prefrontal cortex only just directs it. It's the navigator in the car. But the reptilian brain is a much more powerful. It's really the God brain. I mean, reptilian brain is kind of like a bad description. That's the God brain. That does all the work. It does everything, except for just your conscious brain is just enough to be able to keep it in the right direction. It's just the navigator. You're not, by doing what you're doing, what I did, it's like taking the conscious brain is like trying to drive. It's trying to take the wheel and drive, and that's not its job, And so it's kind of like, this is all about a product of releasing that, letting the driver, which is your God reptilian subconscious brain, do all of that work, as it knows innately how to do it. But it will fight back on you if you try to take over, if the conscious brain thinks that it should try to do that, It does not like that. And the only way it can communicate with, I don't want that, is by frickin' giving you a bunch of pain. Okay? But you just have to release that control. And let it do the driving. It knows it's better than your conscious brain, but it does still need you, the conscious, the navigator. Otherwise, it's like, what the hell? I'm like doing all these sensing. I know I'm giving you all the feelings of what to do, but you still have to steer me. I can't see, like, you still got to steer me in the right direction and stuff. So, each brain's got to do its job, right? And that's your job. It's just to simply, it's such an easy job, it's such a much easier job. You're just like saying, oh, let's not fear this because that would be illogical, because there's nothing to fear here. Don't panic about anything. So that's your conscious brain saying nothing to fear here. But if you're trying kind of turning it off and just being like, oh, maybe you're being unlogical and being like fearful of stuff that you shouldn't be, that's like a fix of your conscious brain that you have to think more. Not only your conscious brain does have a job of, it just simply needs to think and navigate, but thinking feels good. I mean, it has no tension attached to it, at least not anymore. So yeah, you got to keep thinking, and steering that boat in the right direction. So, but you don't drive the boat. You don't run it. You're not the engine. And so, yeah, so what else? What else could I add to that? And then sometimes too, like for me, like I am, I'll just sit back and start doing it, just even little bits of tension. Then I have to notice, okay, so then do I have to go all the way back to step one, getting in my present moments, transferring, or can I go just simply back, just stay on step 4, just keeping my thoughts as well, like if I start feeling like some tensions. Yeah, that's kind of subjective, whatever. But it depends on how much of a tension it is. So, I mean, but if you can just simply, okay, I just got to keep my thoughts engaged with being in a, having, relaxed. I'm imagining myself being relaxed and feeling all good and thinking positive, whatever. That's all good. I don't have to go revert. I'm not in such a tension where I have to feel like I have to go back into step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. But if so, no big deal. It, you should be able to get out of it faster and faster, and with those methods. But I'm thinking, like, is there any point where we're really free of not even having to? I mean, yeah, you should be able to, of step 4, where it's just totally automatic. I don't even have to check in with myself. It's just, yeah, because when it becomes habitual, positive thinking is habitual, like that is your personality, and then you shouldn't have to do much of anything. So yeah. So, yep. That's about it. I was thinking about, man, I got a lot of stuff that I could think about and do, but, I was thinking about, like, the meaning to life and how a pleasurable world, like, wanting pleasure for yourself is a good thing, but if you want a pleasurable world, only pleasure, if everyone's focused on pleasure world, that's going to be self-destructive, because without focusing on goodness, then you can't have that function correctly. But if you only focus on just being goodness, that's like in a realm of like, okay, well then I don't care about myself and my pleasure, and that's not good. So it's a combination of both. Is the world we're trying, is what we need to go for. And that, because goodness with wanting the pleasure results in the most amount of pleasure. And then I was thinking, how a lot of people always will like maybe do DMT and be like, oh, the answer is love. And I'm like, what the hell is love? What do you mean love? And I think love seems like a pleasure, right? That's pleasure. And it's like, no, you know what love is? The definition of love? That is goodness combined with pleasure. So let's make that step 6, right? Step 6 is where you're getting your focus just fully concentrated on the meaning of life, which is to keep your focus on other people, helping other people, not on yourself. And this is done with a love. Helping other people is like, well, oh my God, what's the word for it? But anyways, it's a hidden pleasure, okay? Because doing good unto others, just almost immediately you feel good. But the whole point is that keeping your focus on the other, okay? So, but yeah, definition of love is actually the world in which, like, I think that's what our world is. That's the problem of it, is that we have one sector of society that is focused on, no, this world is about goodness and what is goodness and how to be the most good. And the other sector, probably the minority sector, is like, I just want pleasure. I don't care. Pleasure, pleasure, pleasure. That's what I want. That's the world I want. And that's a worse world. If the ones that just focus on what they want and their pleasure, that's the worst world. And the one that's just focused on goodness, whatever good is, figuring it out, that's also a painful, both are painful worlds. You combine them two, goodness and pleasure, in order to get, you got to be good in order to have the pleasure work. And it's good for you to want your own pleasure. So how do we get this goodness combined with the pleasure? So thinking of pleasure as a goodness, and like a greatest happiness for the greatest number type of thing, right? So, and what's the definition of that? And why people come up with no, it's love. Love is the answer. God is just love, love, love. That's what the definition of love is. It's the combination of those two. So anyways, I don't need, as far as me knowing stuff about stuff, trust me, you have no idea. Yeah, I'm, not to toot my own horn, but I'm pretty damn smart and knowledgeable about it, about almost everything. But that's not for this video. This is the getting out of dissociation video. So we'll leave it at that.